How would you like to select and safely invest in new multi-million mining properties? Leaving aside the economic supercycles and all other macro considerations, the mining industry is in a constant search of new economic deposits that can supply for a growing population and new technology demands. It is common knowledge that the high grades in most metallic deposits have been decreasing over the last decades, and the quest for high quality deposits have increased, especially in frontier districts, many in southern latitudes. Now, let's consider the following statement recently proposed by McKinsey in relation to the current situation for the mining industry. More than 4 out of 5 mining projects are coming late and over budget. Most people inside the mining industry are familiar with the idea that there are currently hundreds of thousands of mining properties worldwide, both in hands of public and private companies. Yet, only a few of these projects get to go all the way and become a mine, which, in the opinion of many, as we will discuss later, is not only the end game but the actual moment when real wealth is created. So, traditionally, mining teams have been dealing with the challenge of finding new economical deposits, and the industry have refined over the last century a reasonable amount of tools to make new discoveries. However, what we get to see now is that many deposits, already defined, some even classified as reserves, are vastly undervalued and stuck in time. On one side, we have the recession issue, supercycles, and other economic considerations working against these projects. But even after discounting those factors, some multimillion deposits are nowhere near a reasonable valuation, at least from an in situ perspective. So, what's going on? We will be addressing why this is happening, as well as other highly sensitive matters for the mining industry. This message today is intended primarily for a specialized niche that includes mining prospectors, investors interested in the mining industry, mining developers in frontier zones, government officials interacting with the mining industry, and professionals wanting to have a solid grip to discuss mining matters. My name is Gabriel Bayona, and during the next few minutes, I'm going to share exactly the key concepts and the steps that have led the industry outperformers to succeed in modern mining exploration and how you can do the same. I'm going to show you some tools to avoid pitfalls when selecting and developing mining projects. You see, every successful discovery in the recent years have been refining these ideas, which we will be exploring in detail today. And finally, we will see what is needed to avoid surprises during development in what I call the scrutiny generation. The scrutiny generation, in a nutshell, is the understanding that this generation is completely intercommunicated and real-time communication is the norm for business today. This has represented a transformation of business of every kind, but in particular for the mining industry, it means a new set of challenge not present 20 years ago. And right now we see that actions have more severe repercussions and much more impact than ever before. So we will see the framework needed to leverage on that and how not to be affected by it. Basically, we will address everything you need to know so that you can protect your investment in mining exploration by using predictable and repeatable systems instead of guesswork, failure, and constant uncertainty, which ultimately have led many and could also lead you to burying your investment and reputation in some cases. Now, there is something in those lines that must be understood in order to have the right mindset for creating value in mining exploration, which we mentioned before, and is the concept that real wealth in mining only appears when a mine is built. You see, building a mine may not be the only way to making money in mining, but definitely aiming to do so is the mindset necessary to generate the best results. This makes more sense when you realize that the modern mining industry is broken, or at least inconveniently fragmented. Many of you are familiar with companies attached to unviable projects that only perpetuate the concept that out of 3,000 projects, one becomes a mine. This is really awful and just one side of the coin. On the other side of the coin, we have illegal and anti-technical mining operations proliferating and wreaking havoc, mostly in southern latitudes. It is a lose-lose deal for the industry, but also something that can be improved. And the bottom line message here is that the industry needs to adapt and reduce the number of failed attempts. So, having said that, this is not shortcuts for quick value. This is not tips for short speculative gains, and you must be committed to always follow best practices and do what is needed to get the result that only a few achieve in mining exploration and investment. The capability to anticipate and overcome challenge needs commitment and smart work. So let's dive right into the good part, and let's start by asking a few questions. Does any of the following sounds familiar? You have stuck processes and painful delays when trying to advance your mining projects. You feel that communication with stakeholders is poor and clear and uncertain, sometimes completely non-existent because of friction, and this is something you know won't lead to anywhere good. You have constant uncertainty on what the environmental and permitting process will lead to, or are currently facing environmental opposition. The same can apply to social, political, etc. You see, each project has its own complex DNA, and it can lead to uncertainty and opposition in many ways. You have serious concerns about legal stability in your target area, and you are concerned about the scope of regulations and changing rules. Waiting times are painfully slow, and results appear to be hard to trace and are frequently unreliable. When evaluating new investment alternatives, you still feel uncertain on which project is the best choice due to the multitude of variables and uncertain potential and risk in each alternative. Do you feel that making decisions when investing or developing a mining project is leading you into harder crossroads, and you end up feeling that the weight of uncertainty increase while maintaining simplicity and results seems more and more challenging? Well, here's the real problem. You are stuck in an old model and haven't moved to a highly leveraged, highly profitable, unpredictable new model to select and develop mining projects. So, what happens when you move to the new model? Well, you will be able to select and efficiently finding multi-million deposits in frontier districts, and this is ultimately endgame in mining exploration. But it's impossible to get there without adapting. The high grades and new reserves all around the world and the amazing opportunities in frontier districts cannot be accessed under obsolete business practices. And you don't have to take my word for it. Like we discussed at the beginning of this presentation, this phenomenon has been affecting both juniors and majors increasingly during the last decade, and only a few teams have been able to adapt and see results. What you're learning here today is the refined version of a model that has been distilled through essay and error in hundreds of projects and have evolved into clear guidelines and a framework for success. You will also be able to capitalize on upcoming trends in metal prices, gaining positive market attention and traction. Your business will become much more simple and significantly more profitable with less moving parts and overhead. Also, you will be proofing your business from environmental and social opposition, bad reputation, changing policies, legal uncertainties, and other unpleasant surprises on the road. You will also increase control over your results, making them traceable, precise, and supported by quantitative analysis in all dimensions. Ultimately, you will get the peace of mind of reduced project risk and a clear assessment of the value of a project before investing and all the way during development. A brief background on who I am and why you should listen to what I have to say. I am a geologist that has experienced and faced the challenge of developing mining projects in this generation. I have been able to grasp from the mindset and technical knowledge from different cultures, which has allowed me to see what works, what doesn't, and especially why. And with the learned experience over the last 10 years and the support of many brilliant minds, I have conceived a way of systematically quantify risk and potential for mining opportunities. My system is being applied right now to support high sensitive projects, and I am glad to share these basic principles for the overall improvement of the mining industry standards. Here are just a couple of expressions that describe the type of result that I want you to experience. Profit in more than one way accompanied me on my recent tours and has helped guide several of my central theses on gold and prospecting in Colombia and Panama. His ability as an analyst and a Medellin-based geologist and Colombian native is to pick probable winners among mineral explorers and to see trends ahead of the Colombian crowd, despite becoming a voice of reason for the gold, copper, coal debates going on there. On a side note, Colombia is actually one of the countries with the largest potential in new metal discoveries and greatly needing right now the right leadership to channel the vast amount of resources, especially gold, that are currently being exploited with very limited resources. Another one, Gabriel has been a very helpful partner, turning the Colombian investor base into an informed audience. He's very good at approaching both technical and capital markets view for local mining endeavors with a clear view of the mining business. So, what is this new model? The PES system for modern mining. We referred earlier to the need of adapting and engaging in new models for the current challenge. Let's see what it is all about. There are three rules for generating value in modern mining exploration. You can achieve them by being lucky or having some intuition, but you can't get to endgame without them. Rule number one, you must recognize and have a system to evaluate and capitalize on district specific assets. So, what are district specific assets or DSAs? If you attend to mining conventions regularly, you have heard experts speak about the increased relevance of environmental and social aspects in a mining projects. Those are two well-recognized sources of DSAs. Political considerations are also one of the main aspects mining investors check when considering a new district. So DSAs can be simply understood as any feature with the potential of impacting the development of a mining project, and each district has its own set of DSAs. The thing with DSAs is that they can be commonly checked under simplistic approaches, misleading parameters, or simply not at all. Traditional valuation methods in mining have, for good reasons, focused on assessing the geological, mining, engineering, logistic, and financial aspects supporting a project. DSAs have been regarded as collateral and sometimes even minor consideration that must be just fine-tuned whilst delineating the resources. But failures experienced alike by majors and juniors because of miscalculations concerning DSAs have represented massive losses for mining investors in recent years. It's been disastrous. Now, the good thing about DSAs is that they can be quantified prior to making an entrance to a new location and can and should be further enhanced by management. Rule number 2. You must develop a system to continuously monitor project performance in the 10 pillars for modern mining. So, the 10 pillars are the dimensions that have to be explored and linked together to ensure the success of a mining project. The PES system approaches almost 500 variables and quantifies the interaction between them to fully map out the DNA of a mining investment, to know what are the best courses of action in each case and the associated valuation. Another thing that is absolutely amazing about this system is that it allows to compare between projects because it's completely standardized. This is a feature that is very cool for investors. The value for decision making when investing with the PES system is just awesome. Rule number 3. You must define boundaries for project risks and design an early response method for approaching them. The values and risk must be quantified in a methodical process, which should include the identification and application of bonuses and penalties for key features based on the previously defined DSAs. You see, the traditional math for calculating the value of risks is not entirely reliable when modeling exclusively with tools such as real option or probabilistic theoretical approaches. A good system has to support the probabilistic models with an input that can only be obtained from studying the case of success and failure in the field under the current industry conditions. Ultimately, the analyzed features must be considered in terms of the costs they represent or might represent and the value they are bringing to the project, because this is what will help us the most during the decision making. Pre-planning, automating responses, and setting triggers to deal with different situations are key to maintaining control and reducing risk. So this is the icing on the cake for the system. So let's look at how it all comes together. We start by understanding the proper framework for a project by evaluating the district specific assets, then use them to characterize the project in the 10 pillars for modern mining, and finish by establishing the risk control system. The value of the project is by then fully understood, and depending on your case, you can be ready to make change in your strategy, take a decision for an investment, monitor progress for management, or also for regulatory purposes. So after this illustration, you basically have two options at this point. you either go back to work and spend hundreds of thousands in attempts to integrating these concepts in your business, probably getting frustrated and risking time, resources, and probably feasibility for your investment. Or you could incorporate the proven PES system for modern mining, saving years of work and hundreds of thousands and even millions in project development. Now, if you decide to go with option 2 and decide to work with me, here's what you're in for in terms of results and speed. Within the first week, we have a working plan to identify and value the DSAs for your project of interest. Within the second week, we establish a framework for discovery and sustainable value, and also integrate the figures for the first three pillars of modern mining. Within the third week, we start setting the basis for the tailored flags and control system for your project. And at the end of week 4, we are already set for a complete valuation of the potential and risks of the project, where obstacles are clearly revealed along with the recommended courses of action. And that's just for the first month. So if this sounds like a good fit for you and you want to skyrocket your ability to select an advanced mining project, then let's talk. Now, knowing that we are a good fit is very important because I like to get all of my clients' results and work with them for the long term, and to do so I need to get them a quick return on investment. And the truth is that there are some people who I cannot help, and if that's the case, I will be 100% upfront with you and suggest somebody else or an alternative. I'm only looking for those who are a good fit and who I am certain I can get results for. So the next step is to complete the application for a private strategy decision below, and this application is necessary to determine, number one, that I can help you and I'm the best person to help you generate those results, and number two, that you are ready to step up, commit, take action, and do the required work to generate the results. Now, for obvious reasons, time is a factor when applying for this, and this window of opportunity will not be open continuously. This program is intended to generate results in mining investment, and I'm interested in working with people committed to the same. Once I receive your application, you will be able to schedule a time with me to conduct your strategy decision, and this is where we will really start working together to figure out what you want and how to make it happen in the fastest time possible and with predictability. And then at the end of the call, one or two things will happen. You will either be a fit and I will extend an invitation to work with me as one of my clients, and if it is not a good fit, that's totally okay too. There are no hard feelings or obligation or anything. Either way, you will receive a tremendous valuable strategy decision, and you will walk away with newfound clarity as to where you are right now and what's holding you back from achieving the results that you want. And that, together with the exact next steps necessary to take action and break through your current obstacles, will make it likely the most valuable 30 minutes you invest in your business this year. So go ahead and complete your application now, and we will see if we are a good fit for doing business together.